Hey, what's up YouTube? We are working on a 2001 Buick Lesabre. This has the 3.8 Series 2 in it, naturally inspired. What we're doing today is basically just a simple oil change. I may include in this video too, I'm also going to be changing the oil pressure sending unit switch, but I don't know for filming purposes how well that's going to work out. If you do have to change yours, this is the part number 4, the S4201. This is the BWD broke when delivered switch from Advanced Auto. I've put those in before. I haven't had any problems with them. What they do is they start to leak through the actual sensor itself, which causes you to lose oil and have oil leaks. I'm sure this one's leaking. So what we're going to do first is we've identified what oil this vehicle takes. We're using the Mobil 1 high mileage 10W30. I'm only choosing this particular oil was because Advance had it clearanced out, Advance Auto Parts, for 55 cents a quart. So that's what we went with. Typically I do use the Platinum full synthetic non-high mileage 10W30, but for the fact that my father that drives this vehicle drives quite a bit, that every time I go to turn around, it's due for another oil change again. So plus he very rarely ever pays me back for all the oil changes that I do. So another reason why we're going with cheap oil today, so at least it's being changed. The first thing I always do is I always want to identify, that the oil cap's going to come off, which I've already pre-loosened it. This is a two-part oil cap. One part holds the decorative cover down. If you grab a hold of it at the bottom, as you can see, that holds the decorative cover down, but we're only concerned about taking the top part off because that's all we're doing for the oil. So we're just going to take that and I'm just going to leave it loose so that pull the dipstick out a little bit. That helps create a little bit of an airflow to let the oil drain better. It is warmed up to operating temperature. It can be a little hot, so you want to be careful. I'm using gloves and a rag, and obviously just want to be careful because of the heat. So what we're going to do is first we went ahead and drove it up onto ramps, as you can see here, to support the vehicle. Got the emergency brake on, got some brakes behind the wheels on the other side, just in case. So what we're going to do is we're going to stop for a second, and then you're going to see me pick up underneath the vehicle for the draining process and what you have to do. So hold tight. Okay, we are back under the vehicle. Before I show you the draining process, just in case this applies to you, we're looking at the front passenger right side tire here. And if you go up here, you can see the oil filter. This is your oil pan right here. Your oil pan drain plug right here, which is a 15 millimeter. And the one sensor that we're changing, which is going to be really hard to film, I'm going to show you where it's at, is right there is the sensor. That part with the little droplet of oil coming off of it, that is your oil pressure sending unit. And as you can see the oil coming off it, it is definitely leaking. So I was right. It's actually started to splatter onto the CV axle. This vehicle does burn through a lot of oil. Not necessarily burn, I think it's just losing it from back here at this sensor. It has had valve covers replaced, so I don't think that's the problem. But as you can see, the whole CV axle, there's also a drip coming off the filter and the filter housing. So that's definitely a tall tale sign. If you also look, and it's hard to see, but if you get way back and in there, I don't know if I can get the camera arranged so you can see any better. Let's see, I can't see a thing here. It's hard to see because the light whites it up, but the connector itself has also got oil coming out of it, so that's another sign. Basically what I use is I unplug the connector, the electrical connector, and then I grab a deep socket, a 27 millimeter, and with an extension, which I believe I used the 3-inch extension, but I can't remember if I used I believe I used the 3-inch extension on that. And that, if not, I also have the 2-inch extension there. What that does is gives me the ability to go over top of the CV axle, which is this part right here, and I can go behind it, and after I unplug it and crack it loose and screw it off and screw the new one in. The new one already has thread lock on it with sealer, so you don't have to worry about, it leaking. So, but before we do any of that, we need to drain the oil because there is oil that sits way up above in there. When you take that out, oil will come flying out at you. So we'll drain your oil first, then go up and change that. So I'm going to get you set up so you can watch the drain process. Okay, so we're back again. And I'm going to turn off my light because it's not, well, I'll leave it on just so that way it might help a little bit. Move it out of the way. Let's see here. Does that white out? Nah, it should work. So we're going to move our drain pan over here. Like I said, this is your drain plug. I believe that is a 15mm, which I already have set up on my socket wrench. Make sure it's on loosen. Go ahead and get on there. Of course, it's not on loosen. It's always the opposite of what it needs to be. Murphy's Law. Get that crack loose. Not very tight. That's good. Go ahead and let that. Now I get my rag ready because this oil is going to come flying out of here. Last time I did the oil change, I put a new plug in, which also comes with a new gasket. So it's kind of let that flow. Put that aside. Let that drain. I also have a oil filter wrench here, and you can get these pretty much anywhere. You can also sell the ones that have like the socket end on them that you can put on that oil filter. So while that's draining, kind of position it like so. And I'm going to go over here, try to get this over as far as I can, like that, and I'll see if I can start cracking the filter loose. There we go. That's loose. That's good. Oil doesn't look too bad. It's actually slightly overdue, but it actually doesn't look terrible for being slightly overdue. You also get some oil that's going to come out of the filter there, as you can see. It's good to have with these cars a big pan so you can kind of do both at once. You know, you don't have to sit and wait for one to finish to do the other. It's also a good idea while you're under here, just kind of look at everything, check for any other leaks. Just kind of examine everything, make sure everything looks all right. This car here, I was looking here, it looks like it's going to need some CV axles here because they're throwing grease everywhere. It seems like they do that once they get up there in mileage. For whatever reason, I don't know why. Alright, let's see here. This is rather hot because he just got back with it. Unscrew that filter there. Throw it across the walkway there. Let that drain into there. Get my rag. Clean up the mess I just made. Okay. So just let that keep draining there for a couple minutes. And while that's draining, I'll clean up my plug. Make sure there's nothing on it, any debris or anything. That looks good. Nice thing is when the oil is this hot, it does drain pretty, pretty smoothly. It comes out pretty good, so I don't have to worry too much about playing around with it. Still relatively clean under here. It's got, I want to say 97,000 miles on it. I'll be able to tell you when we go up inside to make the sticker. Still looks pretty clean under here. I made a video on this not long ago showing you how to do the transmission fluid change with the new filter. That's also one of my videos. That should be pretty much slowing down enough there. I like to let as much as possible drain out, but that looks pretty decent. Okay. We're going to call that good. I go ahead and get repositioned here. Go ahead and screw your oil plug back in by hand. Very important, so you know that you're not cross-threading it. Pretty much should be able to tighten it all the way down by hand if you have, good threads in your oil pan. I think that rag is actually dirtier than not wiping off. I'm going to slide the pan back a little bit, the drain pan, and give it a little tighten-roo here. Okay, let me see here. Where are we at here? There, it should be good. I'm going to over-tighten it, but you don't want it coming loose on you either. The next thing, actually, what we'll do is we'll probably leave the oil filter out for this part. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to try to record it. changing that sending unit, because like I said, it's going to be impossible for me to get up there and do that with you in the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up there and unscrew, lefty loosey, righty tighty, that sending unit, oil pressure sending unit, unscrew it and put the new one in, and then I'll pick back up and show you me putting the new filter back on it. So we'll stop there. Let me take off these gloves here, get some fresh ones before I touch the camera, and then we'll get that done, and then we will pick back up in a minute then. Okay, we're back. So what we did, I went ahead off camera, I put that new sensor in. Like I said, a little tricky. I found that the looks like the 2-inch extension with the 27 millimeter socket seemed to be the trick to do this, to get a hold of that. They don't screw in all the way. They screw in, so there's probably about maybe 2.5 sets of threads still exposed. So they basically go up not quite all the way as where you see the sealer. The old sensor here, as you could probably see, it was leaking actually through the actual electrical connector and losing a bunch of oil. And you can see on the old sensor too, the little bit of sealant on there. Like I said, it only goes into the engine about the tip of my finger here this way. So definitely shot, and that's probably the majority of the oil leak was coming from there. So now we're going to take, on this particular vehicle, I cannot pre-fill the oil filter. The oil filter we're using is the Pure Later Classic. It is going to be the L10111, and we're going to use that. Like I said, I can't pre-fill it, unfortunately, with oil like I like to prime them, because this goes on horizontally instead of vertically, so the oil would just run back out anyway. Now, you can use, really at your discretion, either used motor oil, or you can use new motor oil. It's probably better to use new, but I don't think the old's going to hurt anything. You want to lubricate this O-ring on here. This helps it seal, and also makes it easy for the next person that does the oil change to get the filter back off. So I'm going to go ahead down here, and I don't even know if it's picking up on camera, but the oil filter goes right where that light's shining. We're going to screw that on by hand. Get that screwed in there. Get it all the way down, and then now these only need to be secured on there hand tight. Move that out of the way. Get some light on the equation here. See if you guys can see that properly. It looks like you can. That's good. I like to put a rag on it. Gives me a little better grip, and get up in its grill here and pull down on it, and I can get a couple good turns on it that way, because this is hard to get in this location where it's at to tighten it securely. Like I said, it just needs hand tight. I just like to get on it from an angle, because you can't, it's hard to get onto it at this angle. They only give you the back side of the filter to actually get on there. So I like to kind of come up from behind it and get my body in here so I can pull it down like this, since you can't really get on it with the oil pan in the way. So that should be tight enough. That's not going anywhere. Yep, that's good. I'm not turning this. I checked. It's tight. So now we're going to stop the camera and go back up top and fill up the oil. Okay, so we're back up top again. What we're going to do is I'm going to get my quarts of oil here all ready. I'm going to line them up for myself. Makes it a little easier, so I'll just keep getting up and down for them. This particular vehicle, for a drain and fill oil change with a filter, takes 4.5 quarts according to the owner's manual. Like I said, I'm kind of excited to see, take the oil cap off, kind of excited to see if this is going to fix the oil leak issue. Well, I know it's going to fix the leak, but the oil that keeps disappearing on it. I'm constantly, I don't know, every 900, I'd say every 700 to 1,000 miles, we're going to say, I have to add oil to it. So I'll be very excited to see if this makes a difference. I'm confident that it will, because that clearly is a leak. These 3/8s tend to use a little oil too, I've noticed. I'm not sure why. This isn't like a supercharger. Obviously it's not a turbo or anything. I like to make sure my filters are nice and clean. I use this giant filter here. It really makes pouring a lot easier. Like I was saying, those 3.8s, they seem to use a lot of oil. in between oil changes. So I'll be excited to see if this sensor I just put on there, that oil pressure sending me switch, will fix that, since it was clearly leaking. Not a big fan of high mileage oil. It does have an extra additive package which helps swell a lot of the seals in the engine that could be contributing to your leak. Problem is, usually once you switch to this high mileage, a lot of times you end up having to stick to it. So that's the only downfall. So probably from this point forward, I'm probably going to have to keep using high mileage. Now synthetic, you can go back and forth. There's a lot of controversy people have saying, oh, you can, once you go to synthetic, you have to keep using it. That's completely inaccurate. I have seen though where people have used the high mileage oil thinking that they needed to, and when they switched back to normal, regular, either conventional or just regular synthetic, their vehicle started consuming oil. So I'm gonna get my 55 cents worth out of each one of these.
You all done underneath?
Yep, Chase is working on this. So, the OCD father that can't sit still for 5 minutes, hence why there's so many miles on it, is ready to go already, and I haven't even had a chance to finish changing the oil. Where he goes, we don't know. We should put a tracking device on it. So we'll do half of this quart, like so. It's about half right there, and then we will start it up once we get it on level and check the oil level.
Is there any windshield solvent in it, you know?
I don't have any.
Oh,
It doesn't.
okay.
Doesn't look like it.
Yeah. I tried to use it the other day when the windows were frosty to try to.
Okay, so we're gonna move the filter or the funnel aside, and push the dipstick down, put the cap on, and we're gonna start it up here, move it on to level. But before I move it on to level, I need to climb under one more time to check for leaks. So I'll go inside. Now this particular vehicle does not have any form of reset for the oil monitoring. This one here is just write your mileage down. So I'm going to start it up here. Make sure we don't have any lights that we shouldn't have. Alright, so we're going to back it down here. Okay, let it on level here. We're going to let it run for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then we're going to go out and check the oil level. Okay, we let it idle for a minute on level. It's sitting here for a couple minutes. We're going to go ahead and check the oil level now. Make sure your cap's all the way on. Make sure it's full. And it looks like I can actually add the remaining half a quart there. So we'll go ahead and pop that in there. Yeah, sometimes, depending on how much comes out, sometimes you have to actually, because some oil remains in the engine. So we'll put the rest of the half a quart in. It does say 4.5 quarts is what it takes, but it always seems like I always have to put the 5 in for some reason with these in order to get it on the full line. Could be marketing too. Could be the quarts aren't got the full 5 in them like it says it does. Or the full quart, I should say. Alright, so that should be good. I'll let that dribble there. That back on. Cap, screw it tight. Alright, check it here one more time. Alright, and now, probably you're not picking that up on camera, I highly doubt it, but it is right there, right on the full line. Probably not even picking it up. But take my word for it, the oil's nice and clean. So that's good. Like I said, this vehicle does not require any kind of reset on the monitor, because this is the base model Lesabre. Now when you get into the higher end custom models of the Lesabre, they do have a reset monitor on the oil life that you can reset. This one does not. I just simply put a sticker in the windshield and write it down. I also use the Carfax app to track it too. Another look here. I'm going to see if I can get in there. Tilt you up here. Another look down here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it or not, but down there, probably not. Where are we at? I got to get light. There's, yeah, I don't know if you see in the middle of the screen that brass right there. It's smack dab in the middle of that shiny brass that the light's on. That little thing down there, that's the oil pressure sending switch, so you can see it from here. I just checked it, it's not leaking. Also a good idea to check your coolant, which as you can see, it's on the full hot mark, which is good, because that's right where it needs to be, because the engine is still at operating temperature, slightly below, so that's good. One of the things you always want to check on these particular vehicles is if you look here on the side here, these little coolant elbows are notorious for leaking right here. These little guys right here, you always want to keep an eye on them. They leak constantly, or constantly go bad, I should say. So when I did the intakes on these, the lower and upper intake gaskets on this, I did replace those. There's also one back here too, which is probably not going to pick up on camera here. Let's see, there's one right in the middle of the screen there. You can see that little elbow there. That's also another one that you have to watch out for. But other than that, like I said, if oil pressure, you could probably look up in a book, or I'm sorry, oil monitor life, you can look that up in a book. It should tell you how to check the, or reset the monitor so that it's accurate. I also like to go around, do a visual inspection, look at all the tires, check the air pressure, make sure it's good. The air filter I know is good because I just changed it on last oil change. Some of them come equipped with the cabin air filter, which is underneath this thing right here. Some models, and if it does, then you can pop this up and look inside of it. That one actually looks like it's getting pretty close to needing change because it's pretty nasty. So we'll put that on the shopping list the next time that we go online and look at that. And this is your washer fluid reservoir here, which he needs more of. Check to make sure the brake fluid's good. Also a good idea, if the engine's still at operating temperature, to start it up, run it through all the gears in park, and then run it through all the gears, put it back in park, and while it's running, check to make sure your transmission fluid's filled. But other than that, that's your 2001 Buick Lesabre oil change. Like I said, it's just a good time to go over everything, get it ready for winter time, and I'll get you the mileage here on it too, just in case somebody out there cares. Let's see what the mileage is here. Let's see. So the current mileage is 98,557, and so that's where we're at on here. And I hope you guys enjoy the video. I hope it helps somebody out there. That's all my goal is for these videos, is just to help people that want to do things themselves at home, save a few bucks. So I hope this video helped you. If you have any questions, please comment in the questions, and remember to rate and subscribe.